Alrighty then. So let's get right into this. First and foremost, I gotta say, I just saw how loud my hat was and compared to everything else I was wearing. It looks like garbage trash, but at the same time, just got out of the shower, hair takes forever to dry, and I didn't want to constantly be blinking water out of my eyes or dripping on said cards. So. First, we're going to start off with this tier list. This tier list goes from Bandai Y, which is what I consider cards that they really just should have tested more or paid attention to the ramifications, to Bandai I like, to don't sleep on this card, and then at the bottom, come on, Bandai, which is going to be the cards that I think that they really needed to give more love to if they wanted to push them. So, starting out, the first card on my Bandai Y list is actually Stout-Hearted Android 16. This is the new super combo for androids, and frankly, I stop my cat from doing things. Okay, cool. So, frankly, I think that this card is just a little overtuned. Yes, you can only use it in androids, which is frankly, it's saving grace. But for anybody that doesn't know, this super combo, when you use it and you have 4 less life and your leader's an android, you can discard a card in your opponent's hand. And I did say earlier, I just remembered that I was going to talk about the format, but maybe I'll just do that in a small separate video, depending on how long this takes. But the Android super card discards a card whenever you use it. Basically, though, there are a couple things about this. We already had Dr. Gero last set. 2-drop that searched a card with an Android in its name. Now we have the 1-drop Android that searches top 3 for an Android. It's a Goasu. It's good. But the thing is, this card is very easy to put inside of your hand. There's a card that hard searches it, and there's a card that can nick it just trying to lick your top 3. And this card is very, very oppressive, and not just on defense or offense. For instance, if you're using it on the offense, you get to combo before your opponent gets to defend themselves. So you could very well just Stout-Hearted Android 16 2 times, and your opponent's dropping 2 cards before they can even defend themselves. Now, on the meh end of that, yes, they can just discard the cards they don't need, but those are still cards that they could have used to combo. And if their hand's full of extras they can't use, you know, maybe that's not a big of a hit this turn, but that's cards they could have used next turn too. The thing I really don't like about this is when you use it to defend yourself as well. Somebody could combo out on you using cards that they know are expendable, saving their bombs, and then you defend with 2 to 3 of these and you rip those bombs from their hand. It actually is just a super sharp knife, no matter which end you're using it on. So, I kind of feel like this is going to come into play a lot later. Right now, with all the Mecha Frieza hype, it's not getting its chance to shine, but there will be people that are just thoroughly upset, not only when your opponent sees 3 super combos and you don't really see that many of your own, but when your opponents are ripping your hand to shreds with it after they may have already sold you or gotten their Android 13 shenanigans off. The next card I'm putting here, no surprise, is Shugesh. Shugesh cheats, is another super combo who cheats a level, when I say level, too much Yu-Gi-Oh! A 3-cost sand or less into the battlefield when it is played. And you guys have heard enough of this card. You guys already know its applications, but I think it's just good to point out that, 1, it's searchable by Planet Vegeta, which is another card we'll be having in this very same tier. It's searchable. It does not have a restriction to a sand leader, which is crazy because you see something right next to it that is just as powerful, maybe a little less, of course, a little less, but is restricted to an android leader. Shugesh is not restricted to a sand leader, and it can cheat in a plethora of things. If you're playing Mecha Apes, it's cheating in Son Goku on the defense, the SR from yellow. It's cheating in Vegeta, King Vegeta, on the combo to search Apes, or to search your King Vegeta to land that in. If you're playing GT Mecha, it's cheating in Son Goku on the defense, but it's cheating in Pan and other crit attackers or critters to the field. So it's used in 2 places there. I mean, if you really want to get spicy, we can talk about yellow, green Mecha Frieza, or stir fries, they like to call it, or Mecha Frieza salad, whatever you want to talk about. He puts in Son Goku on the defensive. He can cheat in to play Kaba, which can get a Kale. And if you already are a Caulifla or a Kale from your deck, but it can also cheat in a Caulifla. If you have Kaba on board already, Shugesh can cheat in a Kale and blow up things on your opponent's turn. So it's monstrous. This card needs to have Sand Leader on it. I don't know what they're going to do, but he is far too free, especially since we all know the issue with cards that pertain to Vegetas, Goku, Sans. The thing is, you're going to keep making more of those cards for as long as this game exists. So this card is in the Bandai Y category because it's really just not really thought out. Next, these 3 cards are going to pretty much pertain to the same deck, and everyone's going to see them coming. Planet Vegeta. It is along the same lines as Shugesh. It's cheated out by Mecha Frieza, super abusable, a search and a draw from your life. However, this card searching out a level 4 Sand, level 4, I'm so sorry, 4-cost Sand, is just ridiculous. Just in case you need to be given examples of this, this 1-cost card searches 2 super combos, that being Shugesh and the original Green Trunks. It searches out multiple destruction cards in the examples of Kale, Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, Raging Attacker Vegeta. Like, it searches out, I think there's like 2 more or something. I'm just not exactly paying attention as much as I should be. And then the names are escaping, but it searches out like 3 to 5 destruction cards. It searches out plenty of combo cards. It searches out, in your Apes, it's going to search out most of your deck, if not like pretty much most of your deck. It searches out Trunks. You could play 3 extra cards, play Planet Vegeta, and get a Xeno Trunks to your hand, and then keep digging. This card searches out way too much, and as I stated before with Shugesh, it's only going to have more and more to search out with as this game goes by. It is not okay in that sense. Kabas, Cauliflas, there's too much. Bandai needed to do something about that. Maybe a yellow Sand. And even then, that wouldn't clear up everything, but that would still make it less splashable in so many decks. Maybe that's their purpose. This card isn't exactly the problem. We have Mecha Frieza problems, we have Shugesh problems, but it definitely was made too broadly, because this card is going to be a staple for the rest of the game, as long as this stays the same. Next, these 2 cards pertain to the same deck. The first culprit, Absolute Defense Great Ape Mecha, or wow, I said Mecha just because you already know which deck it goes in. Absolute Defense Great Ape King Vegeta. This card, by design, is garbage. If you've played Yu-Gi-Oh!, if you've played Magic, any card that gives its tribal or its archetype different abilities normally skips over himself for the giving of that ability. You have, I don't know, you have a Dracosack from Yu-Gi-Oh! That keeps himself alive as long as there are other Mech Phantoms on the field. Doesn't extend to the other Mech Phantoms, so you can pick away at his other Mecha Phantoms and then kill him. You have Marauding Captain or anything of that sort that prevents you from attacking other warriors, but you can still attack that Marauding Captain. So you have to get 2 of them on board to make that lock. Deborah is the same way. The thing that makes me most mad is that Pan specifically gives her double strike and 5k to other red cards that aren't herself, but this one wasn't like that. And it makes the deck very, very hard to interact with. And as many players know, if you can't interact with the deck, they essentially get their free reign. You have to find out ways to cheese them like they cheese you. And that's just not healthy. The last card is March of the Great Apes. It is an extra card. You already know when Mecha Frieza does the extra cards. It cheats out 2 apes, and we all know the apes are blocker. And the worst part about it is it draws you 2 cards. Your best card in your deck should not replace itself while pushing forward game advantage. Like, it's not just a, oh, you draw 2 cards to your hand, or search an ape, draw 2 cards to your hand to gain hand advantage. No, this thing puts up to 2 apes in your hand, or from your hand to the field, and then draws you 2 cards. There's way too much power in that card, especially seeing that you're playing it for 2 or 3 mana in this deck. The deck that it's being shoved in. And I just really think it was very poor on Bandai's design to have a card that commits to board, replaces itself in hand, and is easily abused by a card that so far they have done nothing about. So that is my Bandai Y list. Next, we're going to go into my favorite cards. First, Supreme Kai of Time, the World's Protector. This card is excellent. I really do like how black is really coming into its own as a color. And the thing that really catches me about this is that it is the only super combo that you don't have to be under half your life to use. Meaning that in decks like Bardock, you mill 3, you combo with a Champa, or anything to get your graveyard to 5. You play an Overrealm like Mira, Trunks, whatever, to remove your graveyard, and then you let it go away at the end of turn. Turn 1, you can set your super combos off. This means a lot of things. Your pressure doesn't have to be fully after you awaken. You have a little bit more ease of what you can do, and you can apply massive game pushes even without being awakened. This also, to me, means that when the format slows down, I think this is going to be staple for most results of training decks, because you can result and not have to let your opponent diddly around knowing you can't use your super combos. And you can just be using your cards that take from life as a resource as well, but this is just a lot of good implications to this game. Next, along the same lines, Increasing Evil Mass Sand. This is a destruction card, comes into play, Overrealm 4, takes 1 energy, comes into play, and he just pops a card. He pops a card, and that card has to be 5 or less converted mana cost, of course, but it's an excellent thing. It adds destruction and awakening to any deck on the same card, and that is just flexibility we very much so need. Nowadays, there are so many leaders that are held back simply because of the fact that they cannot evolve or awaken themselves. I'm not sure if I said evolve earlier, but they can't awaken themselves, and this card allows this to be shoved in any deck with some minor deck building around it to make sure you can, consistently have the graveyard. But he's just an excellent deck. It adds consistency to the game, destruction colors that weren't normally there, and I love that. This bad boy. Overrealm 4, 2 energy, double strike, 20k. His effect, when he gets used by Overrealm, you nab a card from your extra, or from your Overrealm. I'm all over the place, guys. From your Overrealm to your hand. You take a battle card. And this dude is amazing. First off, you don't even have to run other black to use him. He can be the only black card in your deck, 3, 4 of them. And you simply remove your entire graveyard, choose one of your battle cards, and bring it to your hand. That's your super combo. That's your boss card that got cold bloodlusted and popped. That's anything. This dude is a monster, and I can foresee him being a staple in this game for some time to come, especially when the format gets more to a mid-rangey position, because he is straight gas. He extends your gas tank. I love Topo. I love him a lot. When the game gets to a point where it needs to go wide to combat the apes, or if the format just goes to a point where there's token spam or just a lot of 15k or so cards that swing in, this card cleans house. First off, he is a negate that is a creature, which is good simply because of the fact that he can negate if you have the mana, or he can be 5k combo when you don't have the mana. The fact that he can also be played out at 2 is monstrous. For any leader that bumps themselves up 5k, whether it be Majin Vegeta, whether it be Mass Sand, there's a bunch of things that do it, and well, at least a couple. And this guy will literally put himself on the field for 2 energy if need be in those decks. At the same time, he can be dropped as a a negate for 2 mid to late game. He does a lot of things, and he applies pressure to the board. There's lots of cute combos you can do with them, whether it be Sensu Bean, the new Rushing Warrior Pan that put him to 25, and then you're swinging on your opponent's thing going, you know what, you can protect that Caulifla, that's fine, but you're minusing a card to stay to keep that on the field, and if you don't minus that 1 or 2 cards, then he untaps and he can wreak more havoc. So, wonderful. Pan, I love that too. Pan is a very, very fun card to use. Blocker and Barrier is a bit too much. Like, this card kind of has that Kale vibe on too much text from the same damn card. But Barrier, Blocker, gives all of your other red cards and leaders 5k and double strike. This card will stay around for a long time because red is starting to find its identity as a rush down color. We've got a lot of crit. We've got an enabler for game pushes. We've got counters that don't have to be extra cards. That's a huge thing. So they're gearing up to give us the aggro decks that we've desperately needed since set 1. True aggro decks, like magic aggro decks that know they can push from turn 4. Now we just need control, but hey, look. Past that, this card is very good, and like I said before, it makes me upset that King Vegeta isn't ordered like this, because this clearly doesn't want itself to become one of the double striking plus 5,000 attackers. Ultra Instinct Goku. This card, I like it a lot right now, but it also scares me because they're always going to make more Goku cards. As soon as we get the new BCC that has Barrier, this card's going to be even easier to set up for because you have one more target that can come down and just sit on the field until you can properly evolve it. So that's cool. Of course, he's still weak to Bloodlust. The saving grace about this card not being broken is that he can be countered. Now, granted, he throws all of your cards back to your hand if he resolves. But at this very moment in time, unless you're playing Mecha Apes or the kind of green-yellow deck from Mecha Frieza, you don't really build a board. You have value creatures and weenies. And so sometimes this guy coming to the board just means your opponent can replay 2 Boos or 2 Bulmas and things like that. But for the time being, I think this card is just a nice finisher. We just have to learn how to get there better. Love Trunks. Yeah, for a 1-card investment, he's always going to be a very, very, very good searcher. There will always be sands in this game. Heck, half the cards on this table are sands. And on top of that, the fact that he sends the other card to graveyard will set up with some nice overown plays. In the future, if there's ever some sort of more graveyard play mechanic, he's going to do nice things with it. And then on top of that, he's just so freaking solid. It's a very nice card for this game. It adds consistency without being broken. You don't just shuffle the cards you don't want back in hand. You have to discard. So if you pick up a sand and, you know, just a sand and another card, you have to, if you pick up 2 extra cards, they go to the grave too. So there's just a lot of cool things that you do with this card. Then, Youthful Bulma. I know it's just a reprint of Buu minus the 5,000 or 4,000 attack, but I really like the ability to have this kind of effect in multiple colors. Because before, if you wanted just a cantrip card, you needed to go into blue. Now, your deck can be red-yellow, your deck can be yellow-green, and you still have that cantrip card without needing to dive into blue. And I don't need other cards to have Sensu Beans and whatnot, but I think that it's healthy to expand some of that so that you have more hybrids. You have a successful 1-drop for every color now. Kaba has the aggro 1-drop, you know, in red. You have Buu in blue. You have the Sand Searcher in green. You have another Buu, essentially. It's all good, and I think that's steady for the game. Now we're going to move on to the don't sleep on these cards. Some of these are going to be more obvious than others, but yeah. First, Foo Meister. Should not be slept on. I know you guys already know this card is good. However, the main thing is right now in this format, we're a little too fast to see this card get played out all the time. And even when you're playing Mecha Apes versus Mecha Apes, you would think that a bunch of blockers means that, you know, the game goes on a long time. But in reality, it just means that the game goes on long enough until one person has more swings and the other person has blocks. And Foo will shine more in a mid-range format, not a early game, mid-game ending format. He is a monstrous card. He shuts down all effects but sheer combo. Note though that he does not stop permanent. So for the people that spout off about Foo being the answer to Apes, If they have a King Vegeta online, their Apes still have barrier, and they can still combo with Apes for the free. So it's not quite the answer to certain decks, but this card will shine in the future. He definitely will be put into good things. And if control becomes a solid aspect of this game, not just mid-range aggro and aggro mid-range, this card will shine. Much brighter. Pan is a different kind of one-drop in red. You can give things 5,000, which is excellent, and you can also at the same time combo for it with a draw, or combo with it for a draw. Excellent interactions. Whether you're giving your quick draw or quick strike Trunks 5,000, so he's a 20k attacker on turn 3, you know, with crit, or whether you just lay down a fat topo and you give it 5k and you start bullying somebody's board with a 25 attacker, it's great. And the fact that just comboing with it allows you to have extra cards, it really fits into the red aggro. And I'm actually in love with that card. Next, lots of people have already been playing this card, of course, but the Unbreakable Super Saiyan Son Goku. This card is a super combo on his own with the cost of 1 mana. So, you know, your pluses, your minuses. However, it's excellent for a great amount of reasons. In the Super Saiyan 3 Goku deck, you will almost always have the energy to use him. You could also use him in a deck like Trunks to have more times where you pay 1 mana, draw 2 cards. And it's just, he's an excellent card. This dude's going to go in and out of the format. It really just depends on what you're doing. Actually, red, blue Vegeta would probably just love him too. See extra cards, push your crit through. The next card, I know nobody was sleeping on this, but I just have to reiterate even more so. Super Saiyan 3 or Super Saiyan 4 Goku is an excellent card, and he has a very narrow field of use right now. But don't forget that if Bandai's hints are anything, we're getting the Baby Saga next set, which means more red GT, more cards that Super Saiyan 4 Goku could evolve off of, and possibly a Super Saiyan 4 Goku like SR that could do its thing and then get evolved into this. So keep this card. Find it if you don't have it. It's probably going to have more interactions next set. This card, people were humming about it, and, you know, it may not be receiving the love that it deserves right now, but it is our first Mana Dork. And between Objection, between Whis, between this card, if they ever make more blue cards, heck, they already have made Whis, and that is scary. But this card is just going to be an enabler. Anybody that's played Magic knows that with enough ramp cards, there will at some point be a deck that tries to put out like an 8 or 9 drop on turn 3 or 4, and there are ways to do that. We just need more of this kind of effect. We already have Objection, we already have Whis, we already have this card. Same thing. This card, I like that. It's a Supreme Kai Searcher, and right now, that field is a little limited, but it still has some great cards. We have the Majin Defiler, West Supreme Kai. We've got just the Supreme Kai black super combo. Those things are already just heinous, and it's really nice to see this just actually search out cards. I really like consistency. I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh player, and so when I see search cards for specific archetypes, it just, the combinations. Well, I used to be a Yu-Gi-Oh player before I got cancerous. Return of Justice, Cheaty McCheaty face card. But this card should not be overlooked, because whenever they make something like this, it's only decent until they make a very destructive 5-drop blue card. And this goes back to my conversations about this. I mean, you Objection on turn 2. You play this guy on turn 2. You're playing this on turn 3. And if you're putting out a 5-drop that's very ignorant or high on the power curve, your opponent has to deal with it 1 turn earlier than expected. And on top of that, you bounce a card. They could have a Yajirobe or just something on the field like that, and you bounce that to their hand and play your bomb and start going in. That card should not be overlooked. It's going to be good the moment they mess up and they print a card, a 5-drop blue that's too good. Zamasu cards are always hard to get online, but this card is a Zamasu that never leaves the field. He's gross. And And on top of that, you combo him with the Goku Black card that gains essentially indestructible when Zamasu is on the field, and you have your setup as early as turn 3 for your Evolve, or for your Union Pataras. That being said, this guy only gets dropped 4 or 5, and his effect is actually pretty heartbreaking if it ever gets resolved on you. So watch out for that. Lastly, we've got Lord of the Great Apes. Now, I know nobody's sleeping on this card. However, the main thing is, as I said before, I'm fairly certain that we are getting the GT Baby Saga next set in red, meaning that we will probably get 1 to 2 Great Ape cards, one from Goku, one from Baby. And if they're good enough, I can easily see a red, yellow ape deck. Lord help us and have them put those things that cost 5 or above so you can't march them out. But that's that. Lastly, my last little set are my Come On Bandai cards. And they are all 3 of them SRs, and it makes me incredibly sad. First, Desperate Warrior Super Saiyan Bardock. Excellent effect. The only drawback is that right now in the game, it's kind of hard to get to turn 6 mana. By the time 6 mana is out, generally 1 card is not helping you save the day. And this card would be an excellent out to Apes, but he's a creature. He's a battle card, meaning he can get bloodlusted. Also, big spoiler alert, there is 1 card in the game to evolve him off of. This is not the way. This card is excellent, but when you pull it, you know you just wasted an SR slot because he's damn near unplayable. It's just really rough. The setup is completely telegraphed, and it hurts. Next in that list, congratulations, surprise, it's another Bardock. Same thing. Effect is absolutely nuts. Triple strike, 30k, blows up your opponent's entire field. It is freaking wonderful. However, much in flavor, he suffers the same damn problem. There is 1 card to evolve him off of in the game. The only upside is that this Bardock isn't as easily telegraphed. You can play it and you can play it. Against Bloodlust, it's essentially the same thing, because if they see this being played and you have 5 or more mana, they know you're about to play this. However, on that note, he isn't as easily telegraphed, and he is actually dick beating versus non-yellow decks. I mean, you resolve this on monkeys and you put their entire grave in the trash can, but 5 mana is a lot to invest into Bloodlust. Any person who's played Go Tanks knows that. The last on this list is the Ultimate Evil Majin Buu. He does far too little right now. He evolves, goes to active mode, and does this. And I know what everybody's saying. Well, I get Buuhan, and I swing with Buuhan, I draw, I swing with Buuhan, I draw, and then I play this, and it goes to active mode. But we're in a format where one of the best decks puts 2 blockers on the field a turn, sometimes more. And because of this deck, and the GT Mecha deck, people are playing revenge blockers like 16, like Yajirobe, and just more blockers in general. This card, not being able to get over any blockers or anything, and just going up by 30,000, doesn't exactly do enough. You swing with Buuhan, and you choose to draw. You give them 1 damage. You do it again. You give them 1 damage. You play this. You're going to catch the negate. You're going to catch the blocker. Your opponent has to be in a hole already in terms of field and hand quality for this card to even work. Like, the only way this card just steals game is if your opponent has no negate, no blocker, and their hand is... I mean, granted, 60k is pretty high. But in this game, you know how we like to hold our super combos. So, yeah, I just feel like this card doesn't quite do enough. Now, like I said, if y'all can change my mind for sure. But this was just my tier list and the cards I wanted to talk about in this game so far. So my next video will probably include an ape deck list. My teammate would like to do a Mecha Frieza green-yellow deck list, and probably, I'm not sure if I'm probably going to go into the lab with my Bardock deck or my Mass Sand deck and go into that. But yeah, I hope you guys liked this video. This will probably be the conclusion of Chapter 1, which is Journey into the Crossed Worlds. And the next chapter, I believe I will title it Ape Escape, because there's a lot of stuff to talk about, especially if Mecha Frieza doesn't get touched. So, hope you guys enjoyed that video. Thanks for watching. I know it runs on the long side. I'll start doing some slower or some shorter videos. But yeah, now remember to like, comment, subscribe, and you guys have fun enjoying this game, because I know I do. Bye.